Do you feel like you're being gaslighted at work? If so, this video is perfect for you. We're gonna cover what are the techniques that gaslighters use, how it might be affecting you, and 3 different ways that you can kind of get around gaslighting and regain your power. So if that's what you're looking for, stay tuned, I got a great video for you. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Preston, author of Harness Your Butterflies and creator of the Career Accelerator program, helping professionals just like you to create a fulfilling and exciting career. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. I have new videos every Tuesday, and if this video is helpful for you, smash the thumbs up button so other people can find this video as well. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So I broke this video out into 3, main sections. The first one, we're gonna talk about what techniques do gaslighters use to kind of manipulate you and get into your head. The second thing is we're going to talk about how it might be affecting you, whether it be anxiety, added stress, that sort of thing. And then the last section is going to actually talk about 3 easy things that you can do, or maybe not easy, but 3 things that you can do to kind of regain your power and get back on the horse, as they say, and kind of deal with a gaslighter, because that's really the part that we want to take away. So I wanted to make this video actually because one of the other videos on my channel, Signs That Your Boss Is Threatened by You, is really taking off, and I think we've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of feedback that people are looking for more techniques, more strategies for how to deal with those type of managers who don't really trust you or might be gaslighting you, that sort of thing. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I actually wrote a blog post about this as well, which I'll link below if you want to take a look at that. Okay, so let's get into it. So what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse that can be found in the workplace and outside of the workplace. While gaslighting at work may seem harmless, it can have long-lasting effects on your mental health and well-being. So what are some techniques that gaslighters use, and why do they use those? A few of the most common ones include withholding information, discounting your thoughts and feelings, trivializing your experiences, and blaming things on you that aren't your fault. Now, individually, they might not be a complete concern for gaslighting, but when used together, they're oftentimes a way to kind of manipulate people, and that's the real purpose of gaslighting, is to manipulate people into acting or behaving the way that the manipulator wants them to behave. And so if people are kind of treating you, discounting your experiences, discounting your feelings, trivializing the things that you do, blaming you for stuff that isn't your fault, a lot of it is to remove kind of the stress from them and put it on someone else, and then manipulate you into thinking that you're crazy, or that you have something wrong with you, or that you need to fix something in order to kind of succeed in your organization. Now, most of the time this type of gaslighting happens with a manager or someone above you. It doesn't typically happen on the peer level because they don't really have that authority over you, but usually we see this kind of at the executive level, or that level right below the director or VP level, when dealing with their subordinates. So the second section of this video is, how does this affect you when you're at work? So you have kind of these people, or maybe it's one supervisor who's doing all of those things that we talked about before. They're treating you like, everything is your fault. They're trivializing your experiences, that sort of thing. How does that affect you? So the biggest way that this affects you is mental health. That can later impact your physical health, but it kind of puts you on edge and creates a sense of anxiety, maybe depression, and it really kind of lays the groundwork for you always feeling like you need to walk on eggshells as to not upset your supervisor. So we talked about mental health, but then when we start looking at physical health, the purpose of gaslighting is to kind of make you feel like you're the one that needs to change, which can, for some people cause them a lot of internal kind of stress, but it also can lead to a lot of anger and frustration, which is an increase in blood pressure, an increase in heart rate, all of these things which are not good for your physical health if they happen over a long period of time. So if you think, you spend 8 hours a day at work, let's say your blood pressure is up because you're so stressed and you're just kind of in that space of being really angry. If you're like that 8 hours a day, that's not good. That's really not good for your physical health. So with that, we talked about the first 2 sections of this video. So let's jump into what are the actual remedies, or the things that you can do to work with somebody who's gaslighting you. Okay, so these are the 3 ways that you can deal with a gaslighter. The first thing is to recognize gaslighting when it happens. If you are in a situation where you are experiencing gaslighting in the moment, it's best to address it and call it out. Not necessarily calling it gaslighting, but try to catch it as early as possible, because if you can mentally kind of put a pin in saying, okay, everything that this conversation is about isn't about me, the earlier that you can catch it, the less that it's gonna kind of sink into your subconscious and eat away at your self-confidence, at all of that stuff. If you can catch it early and identify it, whether or not you call it out to the person who's gaslighting you, we'll talk about that in a second, but you wanna be able to make sure that you can kind of put a chapter title on gaslighting when it's happening, and you can say, yep, I'm experiencing gaslighting in the moment. And if you need to get validation from other people, you can do that too. But the first step is to recognize when it's happening in the moment. The second step builds off of that. So once you've identified it, you want to make sure that you aren't giving into it while it's happening. So a lot of times what will happen is especially if you haven't experienced gaslighting before, is if someone's gaslighting you, you might kind of go along with their narrative because they're they're creating a picture or a narrative that you can kind of understand, and you're coming from a standpoint of feeling like you want to be a team player, you want to kind of, respect your supervisor, all of that type of stuff. Now, if you start going into that narrative and you start kind of buying into what they're saying, you will take on that blame, you will take on all of that gaslighting kind of stuff that isn't yours, and that's what causes the stress and anxiety, is you start to believe the stuff that they're telling you. Now, if you can identify it and then start to put up a physical barrier, or maybe not a physical, but like a metaphorical barrier between you and the gaslighting, you can actually kind of prevent that narrative from continuing. For example, if you provide an excuse, or let's say a rationale for why something didn't work, a gaslighter might say, you always do this, you always make excuses, you just don't do things the way that you're supposed to, you don't execute. So you might start going down that rabbit hole and saying, this is the thing. But really, if you start standing up for yourself at least a little bit during that gaslighting and saying, yeah, like this is an excuse, but I don't feel like I'm getting the support, and we need to talk about how we're gonna do this differently. If you can kind of redirect the conversation, or don't give into that narrative, and you can kind of say, nope, we're not going down that rabbit hole, you're gonna save yourself a lot of stress, and you're gonna have the person who's gaslighting you, they're going to have to rewrite the narrative in their own mind, which gives you a little bit of flexibility to kind of help guide that conversation to a place that's more productive. And the last step in this is seeking professional help. Now, the other two things are things that you can do within your organization, interpersonally, to kind of protect yourself and make sure that you're not going down that gaslighting kind of path. But the last thing that you want to do is seek professional help, whether that's someone outside of your organization, like a psychologist, a therapist, or even somebody that is like a career coach or a career strategist, can help you deal with how to deal with a gaslighting supervisor, or deal with gaslighting at work. If you seek professional help, a lot of times what that is getting you back on your path of rationale and making sure that you understand where you fit and what parts of the gaslighting narrative that you're buying into that aren't necessarily yours to own. But the other thing that they can do is provide validation and say, this is not normal, this is not correct, you need to take steps to make this work. And I think that for a lot of people, that experience of just being validated and saying, yes, you're experiencing this gaslighting is big enough. Like, that's the thing that people want to just feel like they're not crazy, because a lot of times if you're in the midst of gaslighting, you feel like you're crazy. You're saying, I don't know, this isn't me, what am I doing, why do I feel this way? And if you just get that validation to say, you're not crazy, but you need to be able to take these steps actively and get yourself out of the woods and into a place of being healthy and recreating those boundaries at work that you need to establish. So that's the last thing, is seeking professional help. And with that, that's all that I have for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you have other things that you would add to this video, because I can always make another video talking about gaslighting if you have ideas. And with that, I will see you on the next one. I have new videos every Tuesday, so I'll see you on the next one.